Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the 5th episode of the GBOriginal Griot web series. I'm your host, Prince Obioha, Ezeagu Ndi-GBO. The GBOriginal Griot web series is a series of talks that are aimed at addressing issues that affect us as individuals, as families, as communities, and nations. And we use this platform to prefer solutions to these very issues that stand in the way of us attaining our fullest potential. So I want to take this opportunity to welcome you all. If you're tuning in for the first time, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share the link as well with your friends, family, and associates, and anyone that you feel would benefit from the content that we're presenting here. Today, I have two very interesting guests with me. To my right is my good brother, Azubuike Anoliefo, and he is known popularly as the Mystical Philosopher. He studied comparative religions and is a regular on a radio show called the Philosopher'S Corner. You can tune in to that on the Nigerian Info radio station at 92.3 FM. Welcome to the channel, my brother. It's a pleasure to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And to my left is Princess Barrister Ndi-GBO Anoliefo. She is the host of an online Facebook-based online counseling program called Heart to Heart Talk. And this show is basically aired or aimed at counseling young singles as well as married couples. So welcome to GBOriginal Griot, Ndi-GBO.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you here today. So today we have a very interesting topic which continues from the previous 4 episodes. This one actually dwells on the issue of feminism and how it affects our communities, within the African context, within Nigeria, and of course, extending across the world. Feminism is quite a contemptuous topic, quite controversial in various quarters, depending on who you're asking, and for various reasons. Some hail feminism or the feminist movement as having empowered women or given women a voice in today's world. On the other hand, some are of the opinion that feminism has worked towards destabilizing or disintegrating the family structure, the traditional family structure. So we're going to delve into this topic today because we feel that our women, as I've said many times on this program, are very much integral to the overall growth of our families, our nations, and as I mentioned in the previous episode about kings and queens, the queen is a very important part of the overall nation building process. Even in the game of chess, the queen is the most important piece on the board, and she's, you could say, the most important part of the king's arsenal. So we're going to be dissecting this topic today, and I guess I'm going to like Brother Anoliefo to get the ball rolling for us.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. I really liked how you talked about the queen and the king in the game of chess.
Yeah.
Why I like it is because life itself is a game. And it's actually a game, kind of a board game. You could say life is kind of a board game. And if you look at the game of chess, if you study the piece very well, you find out that it's literally all we are doing here. Even if you bring it to the social structures, you could say the knights are the police officers, the bishops are the judges. It plays into the social system. So if such a game presents a school of thought that if you are to terminate the queen, the whole game is over. I think it literally says it all, that we live in a feminine reality. Life itself, it's feminine on its own. If we were to actually say that God is the creator of things and creation is giving birth,
Right.
then you should say that God is feminine. Like, if we're going to be logical about it, you understand? But I'm not saying this because I want to patronize women or anything. It's what it is. So for us to get into the discussion, first I want to lay these facts down.
Okay.
But I'll be discussing this from 3 different angles. And why I'm taking these angles is for us to get what is the point of any ism and a feminine movement. You understand?
Right.
Because I know that whenever we have movements, it has to do with those that agree with a specific idea and those that disagree, and who is actually right.
Right.
Yeah, on what grounds are we measuring these truths? So we will be talking about it basically from the ages that we are existing in.
Okay.
Christians will say we are in the end time. Officially, we say it's the Iron Age, and there have been ages before this, and each gender has ruled in a specific age.
Right.
Not ruling in terms of being authority that somebody is saying, no, it's your turn now to rule. No, it's in terms of how nature is meant to be, because there's geometry in time.
Right.
Understand? You don't have the Trinity. We have God the Father, God the Son. There's geometry in time, and just how there is geometry in space.
Correct.
And if you consider geometry in time, you start considering different ages in time. In the book of Daniel, it's there that we have the golden age, we have the silver age, we have the bronze or copper age, and we have the iron age. The
Right.
bronze age was when we could call the matriarchy age, when women ruled the world, when the idea of goddess first hit the scene. The idea of goddess hit the scene before the idea of God. The idea
Right.
of God started when we started looking up to the sun, when we started saying there is one God and God is man. Patriarchy age. That's when we started. The idea of God became masculine, because God is neither. Because God is neither masculine or feminine. Because if
Correct.
God is one, then that means God is not the other one. If it's not the other one, then it's not God. Because it has to be totality. So we'll be taking it from that aspect.
Okay.
And secondly, we'll be taking it from the psychological aspect, because life is mental. Totality, world, that's even the first universal principle.
Okay.
That world, universe is mental. Everything that exists is within here.
Correct.
So if we understand the psychology of being masculine and the psychology of being feminine, and when I say being masculine and being feminine, I'm not saying that this is masculinity or femininity. What I'm saying is that we exist in a body that this is the physical representation of masculinity.
Right.
But within every human being, there is a feminine and a masculine aspect
Correct.
to every man
Absolutely.
and every woman.
That's
We
right.
actually have 2 brain hemispheres. We have the feminine brain, have the masculine brain. You understand? So we have 2 kinds of minds. Basically, we have the subconscious, which is feminine. We are both male and female,
Sure.
but representing in form. You have now taken a masculine body, but that doesn't primarily
That's
mean
the totality of your being.
So within every man and every woman, there's a psychological factor that represents each of these genders.
Correct.
So there's what I would call the relative psychological factor in a man, how a man relates to a woman. Subconsciously, we don't know we do this. We have a specific way we relate to women,
Yeah.
and women have a specific way they relate to men. In terms of how I will explain more. In terms of how the archetypes that are resided in these 2 different psyches are able to interact, and then we'll now take it from the idea of goddesses, the idea of the divine feminine, what it actually means to be woman, what it actually means to be a lady. Because I think that the whole idea of feminism starts from insecurity.
Right.
Starts from the idea
Right.
of not knowing what you are. Because if you think of people like Tesla, which we owe every single thing that has happened in the 21st century to, he said he was a bachelor till he died. We've talked about this before.
right.
He's a bachelor before he died, and he was asked, why didn't he get married? Why did he remain a bachelor? Why is he a bachelor at its early 90s or something? And he was like, he thought of getting married, but he didn't know how he was going to bring a venerated being like a woman under his control. That he wasn't up to the task.
Right.
But when he now decided to get into marriage, he now found out that this venerated being had reduced itself to the level of struggling hierarchies with him. So it didn't make much sense to him. So I'll be saying this from Bronze Age when women ruled, the psychology behind it, and what it actually means to embody the feminine avatar body, to be a soul, because the soul doesn't have gender, right?
Yeah.
To be a soul inhabiting this body, because it means something. Just the way we have the divine feminine, we have the divine masculine. So let's get to understand what the divine feminine really is.
That's awesome. I mean, it's always great to when great minds come together, great things happen. I always say this. And if you've watched, for those of you who are watching for the first time, I really encourage you to go back and visit some of the prior episodes, because I've always said this, that at the base of society is the individual. And what I broke down the word individual as the indivisible duo. And that's the masculine and feminine principles that we're talking about here. So within each of us is that male and female divinity. And you can't be at peace with anyone outside of you until you make peace within yourself. You've got to bring both hemispheres into agreement. This is the prerequisite for peace of mind within yourself. This is a prerequisite for harmonious relationships, be it with your family, your spouse, your associates and colleagues out there at work, and be it with anyone at all that you encounter in life. There's got to be that balance, that coming together of the masculine and feminine. So, of course, today's topic is focusing on the feminine. So, based on that, I'm going to ask our sister, Barrister Ezeagu, to give us a few words, some backdrop on what are your thoughts about feminism and what we're going to discuss today.
So many people don't understand what feminism is all about. In the sense that a lot of women has a lot of wrongs in man's life. In the sense that I used to say to so many women that men are providers. In the sense that when a man married you into his wrong, your work as a woman, because we women has this power in us.
Okay.
In the sense that the only thing you will do as a woman is always pray for your man to go out and explore.
Okay.
Not in the other way around.
Okay.
In the sense that so many women take up responsibility in man's house. They used to say that two captains cannot pilot ship.
Right.
That is true.
When a man take up a responsibility meant for a woman, rather take a responsibility meant for a man, automatically the woman have killed a man, both spiritually and physically. There is no how the man can be able to come up as a man, because she has taken away the man's ego. And when such arise, so many women doesn't used to be that respectful to their husband. In some of my heart talk, a lot of women on social media hate me so much. And they always saying that they attack me a lot, saying a lot of things that I talk more about men. I said no, it's reality. Things that's supposed to be in a way that can be able to balance both man and woman. For a woman to, like so many of our men, many of them used to say that I can't marry a woman that is idle. In my own case, I was a very successful lady in terms of business. But at a point, my parents came to me and said to me, no, you don't have to be doing business because you have to be under men. And in the sense that there is this story they gave to me that how they used to marry in those days is to pick a wife, then take the wife to the mother, the husband's mother.
Okay.
The husband will be the one that will be going around the world to make his mates, then bring it back to the family.
Okay.
Because of that, a lot of their women then, not this our era, their women then always have this respect and regard for their husbands. But in this era, lots of people and so many men always saying that if a woman is not ambitious, she's a liability. That is the most mistake a lot of people make in this life. Okay. You don't see a woman as a liability. It's your obligation. Like I used to say to so many of these guys out there that, okay, you say that women are liability. They don't work, they don't do this, they don't do that. What about you? Can you allow your sister to get married to a man that she can be able to provide for? So many of them don't used to answer such. Because if a woman provides for a man, go out to make his needs and provide for a man, automatically the man is dead. There is nothing that the man will put his hand that will make him successful in life. And that is the pure logic about everything about women, because women has this power, but we don't use it very well.
Okay.
And then if your husband went out, the only thing you will do is to kneel down, pray to God, and say, God, please, my husband is going out for the provisions of the family, and this is what I want. Guide him, protect him, and make him successful in life. With all your heart, the love and the hope, the purity in you. There is no how the man will go and come back empty-handed.
That's profound.
Yeah.
That's profound. You know, I always say that when I first got on the internet scene way back in 2008, you know, the late 2000s, I used to say that the woman is the portal between the worlds, between the spirit and the physical realms. And when women understand this, obviously what she's saying comes into sharp focus, because then you understand the power you have to draw blessings or favor, so to speak, for the man in her life.
Sure.
You know, but unfortunately, in today's world, you know, with the westernization propaganda, you find that everyone wants to be the go-getter, so to speak, women as well as men. So there's this kind of competition. Two captains can't row the ship. So I think there needs to be that everyone needs to understand their roles. It's just like the last episode of this show, kings and queens, know your role. You know, so if we understand our roles and focus on that, I think we can better work towards accomplishing our goals.
Sure.
Yeah. So on that note, brother,
when we're talking about, you said something about individuality. You said
the indivisible duo.
Indivisible duo. You know what I like about that is that there is this school of thought, this school of philosophy in the East, in India particularly.
Okay.
They are known as the Vedanta society, the non-dual society.
Right.
And when people say they believe, the idea is that God is not one, and rather God is non-dual. Because if you say God is one, that means then it's not two. And God is meant to be everything, and non-dual is not the opposite of one. You understand? Because we have to talk in terms of contrast and opposite. So non-dual. So it's indivisible dual. You understand? That's what you call it, right? See, it
Indivisible duo.
Yeah, it makes and that says that the individual is divine.
Right.
Like the individual is divine. The individual is neither this or that. And if you understand that the individual is divine, then you will know that whatever it is, any ism, be it a masculine ism, a feminine ism, or a religious ism, whatever ism, veganism, whatever ism it is at all, it's an ism of duality.
Right.
But the real nature of man is non-dual. You understand? So with that said, I want us to understand that in our life, we pass through time. We cannot exist without time.
Right.
There can't be space without time. And we exist within space. So let us know that time rules us. With time, we are given birth to. With time, we die. With time, we walk. It's Wednesday, it's Friday, make it by 6 o'clock. Time is the primary thing to life. And at the same time, that time is an illusion. But we're going to still talk about that to let you know that the totality of life is an illusion. So when we are dragging and trying to possess things and saying this is what it is, that is not what it is, this is when we are being dogmatic generally. I think the point should be, are we living an illusory reality, or are we actually living as individuals? Are we living as human beings? Are we existing in the moment? Are we living in the chain of today, tomorrow, and chains of thought? Why am I saying this? What's the connection to feminism? People are feminists, with all due respect, because of the loss of touch of the self. Because if we understand what we are, we can't go below what we are as individuals.
Knowing our roles.
If women understood the truth of time, understood the truth of themselves, then there won't be anything like what she was saying about the woman knowing her role and everything. Once you understand that your role as a woman, whatever it is in your own society, because these roles differ with different societies. And I believe that every woman should ask herself, within my own society, what are the roles that is believed that is feminine, that works with me? I don't think every woman should be a mother. I don't think every woman should be a caregiver of such. I don't think a woman should be. There's no dogmatic position of rules. You should ask yourself, because if I'm saying that dogmatic positions of rules, then I'm saying that you are the body. That expression of the soul is what you are. But you are a soul that is expressing itself through a physical body. And if you express yourself through a physical body, what are the things that works for that soul, not what the community thinks works? Because it's what the community thinks works that makes people think, oh, we should get married, a woman should do this, a woman shouldn't do that. And you see people doing what they are not really, it's not really part of them. So when I was talking about time, I meant that we have times that we exist in reality. If you look at a child, when you were a baby, time seemed very endless, like it will never end. When you are a baby, that is we have 4 stages we exist as human beings. We exist as babies, I say infants, as adolescents, as adults, and then as elderly people. Now that's 4 stages, and that's 4 stages of life. These 4 ages of life, I mean, the 4 time ages, because we are the universe.
That's right.
We are the world. You are what you see. So the golden age can be closely related to the infant age when there's no problem. You don't ask for food. Everything, it doesn't happen for all of us anymore now, but generally speaking, everything is provided. You want your breast, your mom's breast, and she gives it to you. You want water, is given to you. You play all day. You don't even think. There's no responsibility. Life is so beautiful. You don't hustle for anything. And that was how the golden age was. When we lived, we were not planting. We were just hunters and gatherers. We had all the time to explore the space and pick food. Food were more healthier than not now. We need GMOs to make food healthy and everything.
No passports or visas.
There was no bothers. You understand? And that age was a very beautiful age. Just the way our infant age, if we experienced it well, is a beautiful age. And that age is the gender that characterizes that age is the feminine within the feminine. That's what is known in the Hindu Yuga cycle. And why am I using Hindu Yuga cycle? Because our calendar as of now is based on the Indian ancient calendar, on the Yuga cycle, which I'm not going to talk about now. It's something different. Now, following is the Silver Age. The Silver Age was when we now needed to start planting. We needed to divide, because we now responsibility now came in. When you're now becoming an adolescent, you have to know this is good, this is bad. You have to be careful. You now start developing personality to suit into some places, start developing personas to act good in front of your parents and behave in a specific way around your friends. It's the same thing that happened in the Silver Age. You now needed to bring order to what we call chaos. We needed the hierarchy. Because what we called chaos was the feminine time. The feminine within the feminine, nobody cared. There was nothing like marriage. Every woman had a, we're saying it now and it's wow. Everybody owned their body. In Igbo, they will say Nwora. That's when they used to have Nwora. Because nobody knows who the father is. Because any woman could go be with any man she wants. And any man could go. There was no possession. My child, my wife. There was no ownership. There was ownership, but there was no possession as such.
Very important distinction.
Because there was no possession, but there was ownership. So when we got to the Silver Age, when we now needed to start taking care of things, we needed to cultivate the land, have systems, have society, division of labor. Basically, we now had different aspects. We now had kings. People had to be managed. People had to become shamans. People had to become farmers. So we needed a leadership system. And that was a masculine within the masculine, because we all know that the father figure is an authoritative figure. It is a king. It is leadership. It is authority, something like that. So after that, we now got into the masculine within the feminine. That was the Bronze Age. That was when the women ruled. That was when the matriarchy age, when women were rulers, when the first idea of an entity came into light, and that was the goddess.
The goddess, right.
And that is the reason why they said every successful man there is a woman.
Exactly.
And that there is a woman is not every woman that doesn't know from the left to right.
Yeah, true.
Is every successful man there is a very good woman behind.
True.
So,
you know what you just said? Let me just touch on what you just said now. There's this idea, right? That it's not even an idea, it's the truth that if we want something, your conscious mind was like the mind we are using to have this conversation we are consciously aware to an extent. Your conscious mind is the masculine mind.
Correct.
It's the mind that says, oh, I want to go to Dubai, I want to do this, I want to own that. Now you have to say it enough and want it enough to put it into action for you to get into the subconscious mind. Because subconscious mind is the mind that does not reject, it's very receptive. And we know women are very receptive. They rarely reject. Women rarely reject. You understand? They are flexible, they are very receptive. So the subconscious mind is a receptive mind. It's the mind that takes that idea you've impressed in it so much, nurtures it, and affects your conscious reality. Because the subconscious mind is the mind that affects our. It's like the perfume you spray underground, and you don't know where the good smell is coming from, and you understand. So if you think about what behind every successful man is a woman, even in the occult, if you look at occult aesthetic arts, you will see a woman, you see a man at the right hand side, you see a woman, then you now see God. You see an arrow that goes from the man to the woman to God. You understand? So it's just what it is. So in the Bronze, going back to what I was saying, the Bronze Age is when the women ruled, when the first idea of an entity actually being conceived generally as a creator came to light, and that was feminine divinity. That was the goddess. Because before we have dealt with the idea of creation, because and as this age keep growing, we feel that we are becoming more intelligent. We feel we become more knowledgeable, but we become less intelligent and less intuitive.
Exactly.
And that's the truth. If you don't, as we are growing from kids to adults, who think we are actually becoming more intelligent. We might be more knowledgeable, we might be more intellectuals, but we are not longer intelligent.
We're not listening
we lose
to
our hearts. We lose that real life force. You understand? The funny thing is that the real intelligence, the real force, life force of your heart now fuels your mind to become more stupid, so to say. So because you can say that education is learned ignorance to an extent.
People read things stupidly. In the sense that so many books misguide so many people.
True.
Not to think straight, but to act according to what they read.
True, true. Like the mind is being governed by another person's concepts, but
Exactly.
not what the person has experienced within themselves.
Yeah.
So basically, during the Bronze Age was when the women ruled, and then there is something known as the collective unconscious in psychology. In the psychology I'm actually talking about, and I use in doing all my talks.
Okay.
I base my facts on Carl Jung psychology. He was,
Carl Jung. Yes.
Carl Jung psychology. He's the father of analytical psychology. He's
That's
basically with his own psychology. He's basically creating roadmaps of our psyche, than seeing what our psyche is all about, what our subconscious mind is, all the archetypes we have, and it's basically about the psyche. So if we're talking about life and reality, and the mental whatever, our mind is
Yes.
the mental world, our psyche is a mental world. So there's something, there's a theory of he has that is known as the collective subconscious, which is where we have an informative archetype. I will explain what an archetype is that decides how we live our life psychologically. Let me give you an instance. If we have the Virgin Mary for Christianity as the mother of God, so she's like the how will I put it? She's like the example of what a woman,
should be.
So she's the detective collective archetype for what feminism should be in a specific era. If it is a Christian era, then she decides. If it's the Greek era, maybe Athena or Medusa or one of them, depending on what we are talking about, you understand?
Correct.
If it is in the Yoruba era, then we might have one of their female deities, you understand? Subconsciously, these things happen, we don't know, you understand? That's why all these things are really, really important. So in that era, we didn't have subtle, gentle deities like the Virgin Mary that was taking over, because she was actually taking over against her will. And then before she became pregnant with Christ Jesus, right? It was against her will. She was a subtle kind of female deity, right? But if you think of people like Athena, or think of people like all those warriors, or if you think of people like Kali, in the Hindu goddess, the goddess of death, think of most female deities, you will not see that in that matriarchy era, that was when they worshipped them as goddesses. So they detected the power that was put in those deities. Not like they were real or they weren't real. The powers that were infused in those deities, the authority they had, like Kali was killing men. She had skulls of men all over her neck, and she was stepping on the god of time, Shiva, which was her husband. So you see that kind of authority, which if you get really into the story, it's not actually she was being disrespectful. She wasn't being disrespectful anyway. So that authority that was induced in those deities, that served as the collective informative archetype for women,
for which women could aspire to.
Exactly. Detected how women ruled. So at that time, it was the masculine within the feminine. The women ruled the world.
Right.
The women ruled the world. And not like they gave authority, they taught men. They nurtured men. They became that divine feminine literally came out from them. Because what makes you a woman? What makes you a woman is that you have sentiments.
Right.
Is that you have, men are more emotional, but men are psychologically emotional. Women are psychologically intellectual. They know how to talk. That's why women can talk for long. You understand? They know how to talk psychologically, but externally women are emotional, and externally men seem to be the ones that know how to talk. You understand? I will explain it later, but it's a funny concept, right? So if you consider that, if you consider what women are naturally, you understand, being able to be mothers, give birth, create what's it called, renewals of life, that bring new things, artists, music, dance, all the things that has to do with the divine feminine. Those were what women were doing in the matriarchy era. They were teaching men. They were nurturing these men. These men were not being punished by them. The men that people that punished men were men.
Right.
Let's say you want to be the counsel of the queen, and you get her pregnant. Is either you kill yourself or you castrate yourself, so you don't have that dominance over her, because we live in a physical world. So looking at a robust man and look at a slender woman, no matter the amount of authority you put in her, the robustness of the man tends to be a threat somehow. You understand?
Right.
So that was how it was then. So women literally were in charge, and because this authority was not given to them by anyone, it was because of the archetype that represented feminism, that represented the divine feminine then.
Right.
Now we are in the patriarchy era. And the difference, let me give a very simple example of what if you want to look at these differences in these eras. In the matriarchy era, people would fight and people will fight for value. People will fight to create worth for themselves so that they'll be worthy enough to share a bed with a woman. That's why they fought. Men fought to prove that they are worthy enough to share a bed with a woman. When we got into the patriarchy era, it became something else. Now, men fought and won for their ego, and they were rewarded with a woman. You understand? Now the woman now becomes an object. You understand? And that happened when we started getting into the patriarchy era, when we started living the Piscean age. Okay, the patriarchy era was actually 2,000 years before Christ. So you can say that was like 4,000 years ago. Yeah, so when we started entering into the patriarchy era, we started having this idea of chaos. Order must be brought to chaos, and chaos is everything that is physical. Because physical, you can see if you look at no matter how beautiful this environment is chaotic. That's right. Because there's green, there's blue, there's white, there's different things, but there's beauty in chaos. You understand? So when we have this idea that order has to be brought to chaos, we now develop this concept that what is going to bring order to chaos? If order is going to be masculine, then the man has to put everything in terms of authority. Correct. Everything has to be owned, because for you could control something, you have to own it. So we now started owning land, we started owning animals, we started owning women. Women were now meant to be owned. So
that's pretty deep. Yeah. So that's a really important point you just put across. With the way things transition from everyone, it's just like the saying in Africa, it takes a village to raise a child. Sure. For that mindset to prevail, you find that people were really living by the principles that the likes of Khalil Gibran mentioned in his poem titled "The Prophet," where he said about children, our children are not our children. They come through us, but not from us. So it's like there's ownership, like you said, but not possession. It's just like even when it comes to relationships, between a man and a woman, you should be together, but there should be that distinction. If we look at the yin and yang symbol, I always go back to that. You have the black and the white in a perpetual dance of oneness.
You don't have the white within the black and the black within the white.
Yeah. But the thing is, they remain, that distinction remains there, because, if they were to mix in their entirety, you would lose their individual essence. You'd get gray matter, so to speak. So we've got to learn to, for instance, love without possessing.
Exactly.
That's key to really fostering the kind of oneness and mutual respect and understanding that we need to move this world forward.
I was saying something about the Bronze Age, when the women ruled and everything. So I was saying it wasn't like women were authoritative, they pushed men around, and men, no. Even if you think about it, if you have cows and bulls, you have farm animals, you prefer keeping the female ones, because they will give you milk and they'll give you more cows. But the male ones could be beast of burden.
In a sense that they incubate. Anything you give to them, they multiply.
Exactly,
and
understand.
Incubate it and give it back to you.
You said something about a woman being a potter, and it's true, because the exchange from spirits to form is through a woman's vagina.
It's true, yeah, that's right.
So, and that's where we come into form.
That's where we go.
And we go. That's what we come from, the spiritual realm through a woman. It's the portal between the two worlds. You understand? So if you see, if men know this.
Yeah.
Even if you don't.
Sorry to even cut you off. It reminds me of a poem that I wrote recently.
All right.
I titled it "The Two Rivers of My Life." My mother and my wife. Okay. From one river I came, and to the other I go.
True.
So that's it. They're the portals.
True.
We come into this world through them, and it is through them, through our women, that we reconnect with the spiritual realm. Speaking of the old ages, the old times, it was the women who were in charge of the temples.
True.
They were called the initiatresses. They initiated men into the spiritual.
That's the nurturing I'm talking about. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's more from a spiritual kind of nurturing.
Yes.
That's what it is all about.
Yes.
And we're not saying this. I'm not saying this particularly like all women is all this, and there is no equality. There is no competition. There are different parts to play in the nature of life. So I think at that state of our intelligence as human beings, that state of our devolution or evolution, I would say evolution now, because we're going back to the golden era.
Right.
But I think Bronze Age was we were depreciating. We were not evolving then. At that point, we needed that nurturing, we needed that help, we needed that teaching. The witches that were born when we started getting into the patriarchy era were the maidens that were taking care of men, that were helping. They were taking care of things. They were making things happen. You understand? So once we got into the patriarchy age, that this insecurity came into play. This insecurity of the fear of a woman. Woman was now apportioned to every. Women were actually apportioned to the evil, to the devil.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, the devil in the Christian sense is the one that gave the woman the apple to give the man. And even if you go deep into Christianity again, talk about Lilith. Lilith is the mother of demons. She was the first woman that disobeyed Adam and all that. If you get into Pandora
Even the
box,
one of Samson.
Still
woman.
Delilah.
If you get into the Pandora box of Zeus and Pandora, gave her the box that she said don't open it. She opens it and all the evil in the world came out and kept man so busy that man didn't even think of how to conquer the giants. Not the giants in the Norse mythology, the Olympians or something, which is actually our ego. If you translate the mythology to our psychology, it's our ego, right? So you see, women were now reduced to carnality, to evil. If you have to know God, you don't have to have anything to do with a woman. And that's why Tantra as a religion is being fought, because as a religion, as a yoga is being fought, because it's something that has to do with sexuality and spirituality. And even Krishna said, I am sex life, which is not contrary to spiritual life. He said it in the Gita. Says Krishna said, I am sex life, which is not contrary to religion. You understand? So women were now brought down to this level of, first of all, women could be with any man. Being a prostitute then means a woman that had a body, she could go to anybody. Being a virgin was a woman that was not seeing a man. That was how it was in the matriarchy age. When we started getting into the patriarchy age, women were now reduced. They were like, the best a woman can have, at least in the Indian tradition, the best a woman could have was 4 men. If you have 5 men, then you are promiscuous. You understand? That was how the depreciation started coming until women do not have the right to even choose. You understand? Their fathers would now give them out, or they will pay for them, or the man has to come and struggle for them, and women now became offerings, now became objects. And the funny thing is that the idea of feminism is actually edifying this thing, because what you resist, you persist, you increase.
You increase its intensity.
You increase intensively. So I think that because why I seem to not really appreciate the feminist movement generally, though I know what it stands for. It stands for good, but sometimes what we think is good for us is actually destructive.
Counterproductive.
You understand? It's because our young women that are coming up today, feminism is more like being woke. You understand? Whatever being woke means. It's more like being an intelligent lady. Knowing what it means to be a lady in the 21st century. You have to introduce yourself first as your career before as a wife. What is better than being a wife than any other thing? I know I'm not saying that every woman should be a wife. I've actually mentioned that there are different divine feminine qualities. Every woman should not embody it. I don't embody all the divine masculine qualities, because naturally I am a feminine kind of a woman. I'm more mystical in my thinking. I'm
feminine
not
kind of a man.
I'm more mystical in my thinking, and women are actually mystical. So women are mystical entities. That the way of reasoning is mystical, because even if you think in the ancients, the oracles were the women and the prophets were the men. The oracles were people that God literally spoke through. And the prophets were those that had information from some entity they didn't know what it was. They could call it God, they could call it something else, and then they were messengers. While the women were channels. You understand? So women are naturally mystical in their thinking, and they have lost this mystical concepts,
Connection.
you understand, by wanting to drag with such a rigid entity and being like the masculine entity, you understand.
That's right.
And why is this? It's because of insecurity, because of lack of knowledge of self, you understand.
Wow.
Because if women understood what it actually means to become a woman, you know that we've talked about this before, that Abraham Lincoln actually started considering freeing blacks from slavery because one of his seat men was married to a black slave that was initiating him, telling him this thing every night. I've forgotten their names, and talk to him about this. And that's why the first idea of let's free these black guys, that's how it actually started. You understand? So if you look at the world is suffering because we have lost that divine feminine touch. You understand?
Right.
And we have not lost this divine feminine touch because men are mean. We have lost the divine feminine touch because women don't know their position.
Exactly.
You understand? Women don't know their position. Women don't understand that to be a woman is everything that can be. You understand? If you want to go very shallow, scientifically women can use that. Scientifically, women enjoy sex better than men. Scientifically,
No
women
doubt.
enjoy sex better than men, but women reject sex more than men because
right.
there is this initial fear. You understand? And this initial fear, I'm getting into the
Resistance.
psychological aspect of why this. Everything we're saying lots of things here.
Yeah.
But let's know that we're all thinking, why did this feminist idea come up? What is the root? How is it helping our ladies? Or how can it help our ladies? Or do we even need it? Or do we even need any ism? Because ism is when we are having pathological symptoms.
Yeah,
We don't know every ism is a sign of a pathological
it's a sign
symptom.
of a lack of
You understand?
knowledge of one aspect of your being.
Exactly. So we don't know. That's why we now have an ism, because we need people we need collective ideas, and we ginger ourselves and
address
say,
that
don't
area.
wear pink. Pink is girly. If a woman doesn't wear pink, is it a man that is going to wear pink? Don't make up. If you make up, you look too. See, women are creators, they are artists. When they paint on their face, they see their face like a canvas.
Right.
They want to design our looks. Men don't have that time to paint. Very few men can do it, but it is not a masculine thing, you understand? So all those things that the feminist movements are trying to really avoid, they see as girly, is the thing that makes you a lady. I don't want to live with a man, even if you have a feminine body.
That's
You
right.
understand? That's what leads to divorce. We don't know our positions anymore, like what she was saying earlier. So now, if we consider the psychological aspects of this feminist movement and everything, the thing is that, as I said earlier, each entity has an aspect of the feminine and the aspect of the masculine within
Correct.
him. Like you have a feminine and masculine body, it's just what you're using to experience it.
Yeah.
So how do women care to understand what is causing this insecurity, and how can they know who they are so this insecurity disappears and they can actually enjoy being, because there's fun in enjoying your divinity.
Correct.
If you came into here as a man and you cannot enjoy the idea of being a man, your life spent here has been wasted.
That's a waste.
If you came into here as a woman, I cannot enjoy being treated like a woman, being pampered, being carried about like a woman, being protected, because women like cult men because they want to be protected, though
That's
it
right.
seems dangerous.
That's right.
Women want to be protected. I think if you're shaking a woman and she's looking at your nail, and can you take care of it, can you provide, it doesn't make her weak. You understand? It doesn't make her.
At all.
It
That is
doesn't.
who she is.
Yeah, it
as a
doesn't.
woman,
It doesn't make her. It doesn't.
No woman
It
wants
doesn't mean
to
she's
be
lazy.
with a man that will not take good care of
Understand?
them.
Yeah, it doesn't mean she's lazy. It doesn't mean anything. It's just that feminine nature. Women want to give nurturing and they want to get it back.
Get
you
it back
understand?
as well.
So as I was saying, let's get straight into the psychological aspect of it.
Yeah.
There's still on Carl Jung's psychology. There's something we know. There's something known as an archetype. An archetype is a natural, intrinsic truth or understanding that we don't. It is before birth. You don't learn it. That helps us to survive. Let me give for an example. If you bring birds that have never, like chicken that has never seen a vulture, an eagle before, right? And it sees an eagle for the first time, it's going to cry out. It's going to cry out in terms of looking for protection, and it's going to cringe by the corner. It's going to protect itself, but it has never seen an eagle before. It doesn't know what an eagle is before. It's because naturally its ancestors has been carried by
fear.
ego, and that fear has gone from gene
to gene. It's
So
imprinted in the
yeah,
DNA.
exactly. Even if you see kites flying and one sees something and the one behind has not seen that thing, they share this collective consciousness. You understand? It's a level of consciousness too, but the archetype on another ground is basically intrinsic to every human being.
Yeah.
So psychologically, we have psychological archetypes. We have the mother archetype, we have the father archetype, we have the serpent archetype, because we have a relationship to snakes.
Sure.
We have different archetypes, you understand? So these different archetypes are not entities on their self. They are psychological relating factors, so to speak. You could call them that. So within every man's mind or every man's psyche, there's a specific archetype that he has that enables him to relate with the opposite sex very well. Now, this enables you to relate with life generally, but since we're talking about feminism, it enables the man to relate with the opposite sex, because a man is externally vocal, right? But internally emotional. Understand? A woman is internally vocal and externally emotional. So now, if there's going to be an interaction, a man should know how to interact in such a way that he doesn't become too emotional, and a woman should learn how to interact in such a way that she doesn't become too authoritative.
Right.
And a woman's authority, when we're saying a woman shouldn't become too authoritative, it's not so it's not because the male genders are scared of their ego being brought down. No, once a woman becomes too authoritative, she becomes insecure because she's unconsciously struggling for position,
with the men,
for rights, which that is the whole idea of feminism. There is nothing to struggle for here. Women are actually more intelligent than men. That's why they listen. That's why they know the man that is not
safe. Very fast. Men. Before a man can see far, they have already foreseen such.
I know we can say it, and somebody will like, oh, that's just what you think. Biologically, physiologically proven. The groups of
they only put men through, suggest, and then by the idea communicate.
True.
Because in the sense that communication are not there is no how you can put a man through.
Exactly.
So many people keep to themselves in the sense that if you foresee something as a woman in a man's life, you don't communicate, it kills man so easily. You know, everything in this anything compare men and women is something that women talks a lot and men are the listener.
True.
When you listen, you listen, then you combine. Throw the ones you can throw away, then buy the ones you can buy as a man. And the man has the final say, not in the other way around. If a woman can be so much authoritative in a man's life, that means the man is worthless. And from that moment, she will see herself as a failure.
I get what you're saying.
Because a man cannot protect her any longer. Because what she said is what she wants it to be stand.
I get what you're saying is when she takes that role, and she doesn't have, she cannot experience how it feels to be with somebody that has that role.
Right.
Something like that. I get what you're saying. So I was saying something about that what you said is not. People will think, oh, we're just being sentimental. When women think are more intelligent than men and everything. Well, it is physiologically proven. The membrane that connects our two brain hemispheres, because we keep talking about balance. Balance is not just psychology and philosophy.
Right.
It has to be balance in everything. If there's no balance between the two brain hemispheres, you cannot think right. Understand? Even if you think about the caducean staff, which represents the medical health, it is two serpents, the right and the left brain, balancing to create the feather and the illumination. You understand?
Correct.
So if you think between a man's head and a woman's head, there's something called colus callosum.
Okay.
It is a thick membrane that connects these two brain hemispheres, which is actually the point in which the knowledge is ignited, the wisdom is ignited. And in women, theirs are thicker than those of men. You understand? Physiologically proven. You understand? There's the colosum of women are thicker more than that of men. So that's why women can remember their dreams. easier
Easier
than men.
than men.
That's why women have
Good
more
point.
intuition than men. You understand? But
They're more spiritually inclined.
more spiritually inclined than men. You understand? It's just that's just what it is. You understand? So if you think about our psychology, Carl Jung created a theory. There's something he called the anima, and he called another one the animus. And the anima is we'll be discussing the animals, so I'll just touch the anima surface.
Okay.
And the anima is the female relating psychological factor in a man's psyche, how a man relates to a woman. And the anima is seen as eros. Eros is emotions. That's what it means basically.
Okay.
Yeah, and the woman, the male psychological relating factor in a woman's psychology is known as the animus, and the animus is seen as spirits. You understand? That's why women have this mystical
air about them.
Exactly. You understand? So how did he come about these theories and these archetypes, and what is the point in this discussion of feminism? Well, a man's genetic target is the opposite sex, which is a woman.
Correct.
So women deliver kids, right? So when a baby boy has his primary caregiver
As a woman,
which is his pure genetic target. You understand? So as a baby boy, you're already developed what is known as the mother or the feminine complex. Complexes are things that those, let me say for example, if I have a bad leg, or I have one eye, or there's something about myself I think is not really okay, or something like that, and somebody tells me something, I'm like, it's because of this. You understand? And it's my complex that has made me react that way. Exactly, yeah. Which if that complex was not there, I wouldn't have reacted that way. So the baby boy develops the mother complex, which he needs to develop the mother archetype, because the mother archetype helps a baby boy to know how to relate with the mother, how to love the mother, how to be a good son, you understand, how to live with the mother. It's a survival mechanism, psychological survival mechanism. So now it happens easier with the male child. So the male child develops what you can say is a healthy anima on time, and understands what a woman is and everything, you understand. And that might be why a man might be emotionally balanced more. You can put that to the picture. And then, but for a woman, it's different. It's different because no man delivers a child. So a woman is going to still deliver a baby girl, and her natural genetic target is the masculine gender, and her primary caregiver is the woman, is the feminine. So I don't know why it's like that, but it's not right. If I have to use the word right and wrong, it's not right. So you see that a woman does not know anything about a man
until
women don't. And when they get to know, it depends on the first encounter they have with a man. If a woman did not have a father, and the first real encounter with a man was rape or was abuse, her definition of a man till she gets to know what she is as God, as divine entity, regardless of this physical embodiment, will be that men are rapists, men always want this, men are this, and she's not going to have that regard for men. So that is the archetype she's going to develop, and the complex she's going to develop for the masculine gender. And it's always unfair for women because they don't know. They look at their father as an authoritative figure, which is what the masculine energy is. They look at it as an authoritative figure. There's no affection in it. So men are fascinating to a woman because they don't know, and they are distant. They are fascinating and they are mysterious. That's why that anima, the animus, is represented as spirits. Because spirit is something mysterious, something you cannot relate with. So it's represented as spirit. So you now see that when women have this idea, this psychological relating factor, but when they see men subconsciously like this, when a man and a woman is having a conversation, you understand, women don't understand where men are coming from. You understand? Men process. If you've read the book Emotions,
women are so naive.
If you say naive, it's going to, people are naive generally. You could say, I don't want any feminist oriented person listening to this to think I'm not in any position. Understand? I could say that the movement itself is a naive movement if you want to look at it somehow. It's not just like the idea. That's my own idea that there is a creator God in heaven sending good to people and still sending good to the bad people and sending nice to the sending bad to the good people is a naive concept. Something like that. That's the kind of naive I'm talking about. Not being unintelligent. I think it's a level of vibration. Understand? So what really happens is that when women don't know themselves, don't know who they are, these animals can possess them. This idea of the male in a woman can possess her. She can become too aggressive.
Right.
She can become too authoritative. She can want. If you notice, if you're arguing with a woman that is what can be tagged animals possessed, and women that are feminists are animals possessed. If you're arguing with a folk, let's say we're arguing about this lake, and we're talking about man. You said it's a man-made lake. Yeah. I think you should say where we are even.
Yeah. By the way, we're filming here today. Just opposite us is the famous Jabi Lake in Abuja. It's the largest man-made lake, I believe, in Nigeria. I don't know about West Africa, but it's a beautiful sight. You should see it.
So let's say we're having an argument about this lake. Is a man-made lake better? Is a natural lake, whatever natural means, because it's still natural anyway? Yeah. Is it better? Let's say I'm having that argument with quote unquote a feminist or somebody that is animals possessed, we will not be arguing for the truth. We're not going to be arguing. We're going to be arguing. I think you might be arguing for the truth, like thinking, why considering it. And if you start sounding too intellectual or too intelligent, an animals possessed woman that thinks, oh, you want to show me, start arguing for her point of authority. That's when you see most women argue, and you don't get what are we talking about here. You don't get what she's saying. She goes here, she goes there. It's that she's not trying to get to the truth because she now feels you want to suppress her. She's now overpowered by that. She's now possessed by that more psychological factor in her, and it happens with men too. When you see men get emotional,
wrestling match.
Yeah, exactly. When you see men get emotional, and if you're not careful as a man, once a woman starts arguing that way, starts exhibiting this aspect of being possessed by the animals, she will ignite your own animal.
That's right.
And you will be possessed, and you gotta get emotional. You might start exchanging words. You might start saying, but this is not what I meant. You might not start explaining yourself, and then she has caught you. And her getting you might be venerating for her, but she loses the touch of being with a man.
Exactly.
Because you have corrupted his own psychology. You understand? Because as much as I keep saying it, men are big baby elephants. A baby elephant is just a baby elephant. Yeah. A baby elephant looks huge and everything, but it's a baby elephant. It can be broken in such a way that it doesn't even know it's an elephant. So once women understand that these things are not personal, I know that human beings are bad, women are maltreated, but that is the sickness of the world we live in today. You understand? I understand all that. We are in the old age. We are depreciating. We are walking towards the Aquarian age. We are going back to the golden age. And I wanted to mention something about this ages. Scientifically, you could check this. The precession of the equinox. Because the Earth has three movements. We have the movement around the sun. We have the movement around we have the movement of the day and night movement. We have the movement of the years, the one that brings in seasons, and then we'll have the wobble of the Earth, which is the precession of the equinox. I think 26,000 years or something around that figure. And each precession of the equinox, we have a specific zodiac sign. Take up the center of the sky, because let's not go into details. And each specific zodiac sign that takes up the center of the earth is related to a particular age. So the Aquarian age, which we are heading to now, is related to the golden age. So we are kind of, although we have depreciated, we are evolving again. So that depreciation is affecting us as men and as women and as human beings generally. You see the way we even treat the earth. The earth is a woman.
That's right.
Even the feminists treat the earth badly. You understand? The earth is a woman. You understand? So you can see it is a sickness that is intrinsic. Every normal human being is neurotic. To an extent. It is the very deep ones that we now say that they are mad. You understand? Because they are on an extreme, so to speak. You understand? So if women could understand that we live in a neurotic society, we live in a society that we say the world is crazy. And it's crazy because the individuals are crazy. You understand? So if women could understand that we are all crazy to an extent, that maybe these men that are maltreating women, so to speak, I don't know what it means to maltreat a woman with people's concepts. These men that are maltreating women are doing this thing because we are crazy, we are sick, we are grown, we are ignorant. And women that think that they are being maltreated, but should ask themselves, are they actually willing victims? Because there is something like a willing victim. When a woman gives herself prize, you are a winning victim.
Complicit.
Like what she was saying about a woman being taken care of, that a woman should be taken care of. It's not when nobody's saying a woman should not go to work if she likes taking that position, if it gives her joy, if she's not taking it because in her community it's meant to be like this, if she's taking it because it comes from an inner creativity in her. She wants to become the manager of an office. fine, because in that instance that you're not doing it from the ego perception.
Yes.
You're not doing it to prove something.
To prove a point.
Understand?
Yeah.
You're doing it because you want to do your role as a human being.
The only way it will be balanced is when a man invests in a woman.
When you're saying invest in a woman, I actually get what you're saying very well. Very, very well.
Unless she's single, she can be able to do all that to take care of herself. But in aspect of being together,
when you talk about taking care of, when you talk about a woman take care of a man take care of a woman and all that, I said something about the relating psychological factor, and it starts from, for the animals, from the male in a woman. It starts from what the dad is, because the dad sets that boundary, understand?
Right.
Or what her first love is, her first male love is she's heterosexual, understand? Start from what it is. Now, if you consider that in terms of provision, you know that this provision we are talking about is simply caregiving.
Caregiving, that's right.
Understand? And this caregiving for a woman depends on what the kind of male archetype, be it father or boyfriend, whatever, that she has developed. You understand? So if she has developed an archetype that says that men should be provided for, you understand? That's that maybe she grew up seeing her mother provide for her father and everything. You understand? Even if she has a different opinion as a person, what she's going to have at the forefront of her mind, or even at the back part of her mind, is that women take care of men. You understand?
Right.
And if she has that in her mind, she's not going to do it in terms of authority. She's going to do it in terms of the nurturing aspect. You understand? Because we should look at these things. Most women want to be taken care of, not because they can't take care of themselves. They just want to feel how as a woman. You understand?
Okay.
So from that angle, a man will still take care of you in that aspect, because no man can take care of a woman emotionally. No man can do that.
That's like trying to explore the cosmos.
If you're trying, you can't do that. You understand? You can't do. It can't even happen, because
but you know that if a woman take care of a man, in a sense that she provides and she does everything that a man's supposed to be to her, automatically she have killed a man and she have killed herself. And for that reason, she can never have the feelings of that love for the man.
I remember once one of my pastors told me, then I was still serving, told me that her husband lost her job and she was always praying for her to instead let her lose her own job and have the husband provide and everything. I get that concept very well, and that's very, very true. Understand? But there's one thing we should, if we are growing. Understand? If we are growing, there's one thing we need to establish. Look at how it was before. When that concept started, was the women had to stay back in the house to cook and take care of the kids, because they could go hunt for food. They could go fight with lions and wild animals. So the men have to go out and understand the territory. Understand the bush part, understand where to hunt, where to lay siege and all that. Then the women stay back and gossip. Gossip, in an essence, is a social talk. You understand? And when the men come back, they come and tell the men what is happening. The women are the only things that are being refined by the moon. The only beings that are being refined by the moon every month, every month sees a period. So women are mystical. Those social talks and everything are mystical things. They talk about what happened, how the child died, how this person had a sickness. They talk about things that get them inside. So when the man comes back, the woman provides that care. The man brings the other one. This was because they could not do
certain things.
They couldn't do certain things. But considering our time now, we live in an era that we are going back to the golden age. We are going back to the time that where human beings had full individuality.
Right.
That's why most women don't think they want to get married now. That's why we are, and that's, I think, it has an aspect of the feminist movement anyway. But what I'm saying in summary is that we are getting back to the time that people will now understand that we are here to experience our life together.
Right.
Like, I choose you as my wife, I choose you as my husband, because I've said that in this particular lifetime, that's how I see myself. In this particular lifetime, I've chosen you to share it with me.
Correct.
You understand? And if I've chosen you to share it with me, that means we are sharing it together. We are creating something together. Not like it is this person's duty. Because most women that might be listening to this were like, no, it doesn't have to be like that. But once you start doing it that way, you set yourself up to become a feminist.
Right.
You understand? Without knowing. You understand? You set yourself up to even if you think, okay, we don't have to become a feminist, we have to listen to the man, even if he has to provide, well, we have to provide, we have to listen to him very well, and everything he says is yes. Once you pass through that route too, you start depressing yourself by thinking you don't know anything, you don't have anything to offer. It's all he's the man, you should have to offer. And what you suppress will always look for a way
backfire.
to, you understand, hit you.
Yes.
So my point about this tree, I don't know, I know I mixed everything up.
Yeah.
I talked about and there's something about embodying the divine feminine again. There's no specific way to be a woman.
That's right.
And there's no specific way to be a man. Understand? The only specific way we have is specific way to be human beings. You understand?
Exactly.
And when you know how to be a human being within a feminine body, I think you will play at least 90% of the role of
more
being
holistic
a woman.
role.
Human.
Yeah, and that's what the divine feminine is. And once a woman understands this, I don't think there will be a need to struggle for roles and any movement, any feminist movement or anything. It will all flow like the Zen yin and yang, right?
Yeah.
It will all flow and it will all be fine.
Absolutely on point with that. Absolutely on point. We're just gonna flow. Okay. Greetings, everyone. Once again, this is your host, Prince Obioha, Ezeagu Ndi-GBO, and I'm welcoming you to the GBOriginal Griot web series. If you have been with us from the start of this episode, we've been talking about feminism and its relevance to our world, the African world, Nigerian society, and the world at large. Is feminism is it adding anything of value to us, our people as individuals, as on the family level, on the community level, as well as as nations? Or is it just a counterproductive construct? That's what we've been dissecting, from the beginning of this episode. This is the 5th episode, by the way, of the GBOriginal Griot web series, and it's being presented to you by your host and GBOriginal Creators, which is my company. On my right has been my very good brother, Azubuike Anoliefo, the Mystical Philosopher, as he's popularly known. And if you would like to hear more of his talks, you can tune in to Nigerian Info radio station on 92.3 FM. And specifically the show is The Philosopher's Corner. And to my left is a very special sister, Princess Barrister Ezeagu Anozie. And she runs her own talk show, Facebook-based. It's titled Heart to Heart Talk, and it addresses, or the target audience are young singles as well as married couples. So you might want to follow her on Facebook to feel more of her insights into the things that affect singles and young couples as well. So we've been talking about feminism. We've really gone deep on this subject. By the way, just so you know where we are, obviously we've changed our position from where we were seated earlier in the episode. We decided to give you all a view of the beautiful Jabi Lake here in Abuja, and you can see it's really quite a sight. We've got quite a landscape in our backdrop, so just thought y'all would enjoy that sight along as we wrap things up this evening. What do you think about our current position?
Very nice, and I love the lake view.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bro, how about you, man?
I feel like we change the position. It's like it's not this way. Rather than it's off with something more feminine now.
And natural.
We're making changes. That's the idea of feminism.
Yes.
Being a woman or whatever.
Yes.
Tell you, man. So, brother.
All right.
Yeah.
Since first of all, we can't completely dissect this topic, since it's a movement, and it's a movement that has been in progress since the 60s, early 60s.
Yeah, correct.
So it's not something we can just say we have all the keys and have all the answers, or we know everything that is really happening, but this is what we know.
Yeah.
We understand that every human being is a star on its own.
Correct.
Exactly.
Whether you're a male or you're a female, your position here is not the same as any other person's position.
Correct.
Because every star orbits in its own axis and
That's
can't
right.
be influenced or can't be hurt by another star, or else you make yourself a willing victim, which is what I personally think the movement of the feminist movement is, because every woman is a star, every
Yeah.
woman is a goddess, and this is not trying
That
to.
is the reason why they said in this advert, Mazi star, they said every woman is a star.
Yeah, every woman is a star, every human being is a star, every woman, every lady is a goddess, and it's not trying to patronize women. Why women might feel, or even if it's happening, why it is happening that are being suppressed in this time and age, it's one, it is the time we're existing in. And I'm not saying it is okay, and when I said it might not really be suppression, it might be what have you termed suppression.
Right.
And what you term suppression is what your complexes are, where you have kept yourself, because whether you think you're too good or you think you're too low, whichever one is still the ego.
Yeah.
Because if you think you're too high, you think, oh, these people are low, right? And if you think you're too low, you now think, oh, these people are high and they're suppressing me. So it's still the ego. So whatever you term suppression depends on what you think you are.
Right.
Then if you understand what you are, if you understand that you're a star, if you understand you're a goddess, if you understand what the divine feminine is literally all about,
Right.
what your position is, what the feminine energy generally is to the human race, what it is in a family, what it is to you as an individual, I don't think that any woman is going to think she's been oppressed. And if men, and the men that oppress women, you know, the funny thing is that I don't deny the fact that women have been oppressed.
Right.
Women are being oppressed, you understand? But this is not what the feminist movement, the feminist movement might think this is what they want to achieve, to stop this oppression, but they're actually making women more receptive victims
Right.
to these things, because you're saying fight. You can't make peace out of war. Just so I think the thing is that if women understand that this is not about equality, it's about equanimity, it's about everybody
Equanimity,
playing
yes.
their role, you understand, then there will be nothing to struggle. And once they understand this, then there will be healing, because the men that are actually, the quote and unquote, those that maltreat women are those that are not in touch with their feminine side. Because any man that is in touch, any man that is not animal possessed, so we talked about the related
Animus and
psychological
animal.
factors within a man and a woman, and I said that for a woman is animus, and that for the man is the animal. Any man that is not animal possessed is a man that understands that a woman has the role to play in the general outlook of things. Women are not like second-hand citizens or people that cannot contribute and everything. It's actually male anxiety. It's actually male anxiety that makes
That leads to-
men to do, even, you know, just that we can't complete this discussion, because when we start talking about marriage and everything, you see lots of things to let women know that women are individuals on their own. Being an individual on your own means you should first of all go within yourself to understand what you are. The point of anything I'm going to talk about, be it feminism, be it religion, be it heaven, be it hell, is for man to recognize that he is that thing he's looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Understand? Once you understand that you are that thing you're looking for, whether you're a man or a woman, once you can go inside and get inside and understand that you are divinity, you are a star, you're a goddess, you are a soul experiencing life, and your experience is dependent on what you have created. And what you have created is what goes back to what you think you
What
are.
you think you are.
Understand? You can see that
Precisely.
we won't have feminist movements. We are going to have movements that think of how can we reformate men so they can have a connection back to their subconscious,
Yeah.
which is this feminine
feminine
mindset.
side.
You understand?
Yes.
Because once men can, no, mystics are not mean to women. In fact, use the word.
Yeah.
There are exceptions anyway, because once you can understand the quote unquote the beyond life, if you can understand communication with God, if you can understand your subconscious mind, once a man, when I mean a man, the soul experiencing the body through a
The
masculine
masculine body.
has this connection with the opposite side of itself,
Yeah.
with the yin in this case, because the man is the yang, has this connection with the yang, with his mystical side, with his feminine side, automatically we won't have men that don't have value for women.
Correct.
You understand? And
Correct.
if you have that, then there won't be a feminist movement. And men cannot learn about women, excluding from women, because
right.
we don't know.
That's
Understand?
right.
So instead of women gathering around in groups trying to see how they could gain their rights, which is not lost, maybe women can gather around and bring in men and say,
Which is not
this
lost.
is, which is not lost. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not lost. You understand? Then women can gather around and bring in men and say, this is what it means to be a woman. You understand? This is, you know the idea of the divine feminine is inclusiveness.
Thank you.
And if we're talking about inclusiveness, women should have circles that they involve men. Talk about things you think you don't want. Talk about your body cycle. Talk about how it feels. Talk about how it feels to be dumped. Talk about how the fear you have when a man approaches you.
That is the reason why I said communication matters.
Yeah, communication is everything. Without communication, we can't
If you
understand.
don't
There'll be
communicate, you
relationship.
can't. Because so many people will be like, if you look at me, you're supposed to know what I want and what I don't want. Without communication, no one is superior to know what
mind reader.
your
we second
mind
guess-
is
we second
saying,
guess
or
ourselves.
what you want or what you don't want in life. So it's better ladies should call on men, talk to them, same way to men. Communicate. When you communicate, you resolve so many issues in life, and everything flows.
And I would like to round off by saying how women should get in touch with their divine feminine. Because we can keep on saying know yourself. We know ourselves to be the personality.
Yeah.
So like I'm Amaka, this is how I do my thing. So that's myself. But the divine feminine is the goddess within every woman.
Yeah.
So how do women connect with their divine feminine?
Very important.
I'll say some very things that people might not really agree with, but it's suggested that every woman should learn how to pleasure herself. Women should learn how to pleasure themselves. Women should learn how to touch themselves. We are quick to judge, you understand? And we say, oh, it's masturbation and everything, but let's not get into masturbation as a topic. Anything you do more than required becomes poison.
Of course.
Even if you're making ice cream, even if you're drinking holy water, you take it more than required, it becomes poison. So women should learn how to pleasure themselves, because the woman hormone is not like the man's hormone, you understand? And if a woman doesn't pleasure herself, she does not have a hormonal balance before the man approaches her. So in that way, she does not enjoy herself before being enjoyed by, so like, I don't know how to put it, like, she doesn't have a feel of herself before, because if a woman appreciates her sensuality because there's a man involved, then she does not have a sense of self.
Doesn't have a sense of self. It's
So
just, she's
naturally,
a
a woman,
party.
exactly. A woman should learn how to pleasure herself before being pleasured by a man. Understand? Because you have to. A woman, women should dress. If a woman feels she should wear short things, she should expose her femininity. The way a man wants to go to gym and look a little bit muscular, women want to look flashy. If it is your thing and you think it's a girly thing, you're actually suppressing an aspect of you. Then if it is not your thing and you think it's a girl thing and you should do it, you're suppressing a different aspect of the divine feminine in you. Because the divine feminine is still fiery, it's still warm, it's still powerful, you understand? It still has that masculine outlook
Energy.
to it, you understand? It's not basically all soft, and it's not even soft. Water, it looks soft, but the current is something else, you understand? So women should learn how to pleasure themselves, number one, and women should learn how to create.
Creating.
Because women are creators.
Yes.
So you have to start from where you are if you're going to get to your highest potential, which is the goddess in you. So women should learn how to create. And what I mean by creation, and I like it that lots of women are going into making up, and the makeup artists outburst and sewing and doing, because those are forms
Fashion
of creation.
designing.
Yeah, it's forms of creation, because once you create, you're able to shut out thoughts and go to a part of your mind that you really don't access. And the more you do this, you come in touch with yourself. It makes you more focused, because if you can focus, you detach with some thoughts, you understand? And you have a sense of self. It makes you know that you're actually a mother, you're actually a life bringer, you understand? So you can learn how to draw, you understand? You can learn how to make art, you can learn how to cook, you can learn how to raise gardens, because it's creation. Creation is religion. So once a woman can learn, I mentioned a woman pleasurizing herself, getting in touch with her sexuality and sensuality, being able to create, and then a woman being able to know, how would I put it, being a mother. Being a mother is something that every woman is meant to be, but everyone is not meant to be a mother. What I'm saying being a mother is, because if you were existing, you already have a mother. Women should learn how to have a good relationship with their mothers. Now, I'm not saying if your mother is
is something, because your mother is still an individual. She can have her own psychological problems. You don't have to love her. You don't have to sleep on the same bed with her. But heal yourself from whatever it is that has made you to have that opposition with her. And if there's no such opposition, try to either raise your energy to hers or tap down your energy a little bit to her, because it's good to have that good relationship with your mother.
Sure.
You understand? As a woman, because without that good relationship with your mother, obviously you're going to have it with your daughter.
Exactly.
And if it continues in that chain, what kind of women are we going to be producing? You understand? So women should learn how to pleasurize themselves. They should learn how to create. They should learn how to have good relationship with their mother. And women should learn how to understand that men, looking at women should go inside, but looking at men as the robust, physical, macho, whatever, tends to make us, because we are too superficial in our thinking, right? So we tend to say, okay, that's now the authority. No, the authority is the person or the individual that is able to bring up the solution to a specific problem at that time. Because we live life of problems. That's the point of life. We solve it and learn more and continue evolving. So if a woman is in a home, and a home is literally where two or three people have gathered that have the same psychological need. That's what a home is. If you're in that kind of an environment, you're with a man, you have the same psychological need. Forget what people outside think it should be. Because it shouldn't be anything. It should be what works for you, not as ego, and what works for the other person, because we are interdependent human beings.
Correct.
If we are totally dependent, we become a problem for some people. If we are totally independent, we become isolated, we become neurotic, we become crazy, you understand? So we are interdependent, and this interdependency has to work between two opposite poles. Polarity is not really opposite. It's when they come together, they become one. When two find peace in one house, they shall say to the mountain, move, and it shall move. Those two are opposites. It's a world of contrasts. You understand? Contrast, I mean negative, positive. The women are the negative, not in terms of bad. The receptive. You understand? And the men are positive, the givers. You understand? So you see, those two things, if you understand this, there won't be need to struggle positions. There won't be need to say, there won't be need for all those things. So every individual becomes a newly awakened individual, and the movement will disappear. Understand? I'm not saying it will become heaven on earth, but it's a step. Understand? Because with what we are doing, I see lots of feminists talk on radio. I don't want to call names. Talk, and people hail them, and they say, instead of introducing yourself as a wife, introduce yourself as a career, this and all that. All those things have their place. Women have helped. When Wu Yang, she was the first empress in China. Right. You understand? She made China very wealthy. Very, very wealthy. Women were wearing cotton gold. Gold, form of cotton. So women were in China grew. She created roads, cotton sold and everything. Yes, we have women emperors, we have women that have authority and all that. But first, that feminist, how did she get there? She got there because she was a concubine to the first emperor, which, as she was playing her role, he had thousands of concubines, of course, but she was playing her role. After sex or whatever, after their love play and everything, she brings in advice on how to rule China. Right. So the son, when he died, the son took her up as another concubine. And when he died, she became the empress. So it was still her femininity, the feminine side that took her there. You understand? She didn't have to become a man. She didn't have to become a man because she. And it's not even a man's position. It's a position. Like what I say authority is. Who has the solution? That's right. Who's the problem solver? Who's the problem solver? The value creator. Exactly. It's the position of the problem solver. You understand? It is stereotypes and dogmatic attitudes to things that bring up all these movements. And let's know that any ism is something of polarity. And polarity is duality. And duality is opposition. You understand? Duality is opposition to unity. Understand? Which is the idea of God, which is the idea of compassion and one. So if we create this duality sense in different ways, understand? Be it feminism, be it whatever, understand? If we keep creating this duality sense in different things, it's not going to help us get anywhere. We're not going to evolve. We're going to continue going round and round and round. Circles. Just like a lab rat that is running and never gets anywhere. So that's just what I have to say. say about it basically.
Much appreciated, Brother Azubuike.
Thank you.
And you really broken this down to us from a very vast perspective, which is important because
it is
it's always good
important.
to have that background knowledge, the knowledge of the present situation and the potential for the future.
True.
And that's how I like to approach things and tackle various issues. So, Princess Barrister Dane, what word do you have for your fellow sisters, our sisters, in this matter?
The only thing I have for my sisters is this: this life is not all about competition. Sorry about that. It's not all about competition. You know, when you are competing with anyone, you get it all wrong. In the sense that you have a lot of enmity within yourselves, and it's not healthy in humankind. So, what I'm trying to say is this: each and every one of us should love and know who you are as a lady, and know your roots, know where you went wrong, and know where you're right. That is the only thing I think I have to say to us as my fellow women out there.
All right, thank you so much for those straight and profound words. You know, like you rightly said, we've covered on so much. I really wish that our audience out there would have the time to go over this clip as many times as possible, because there's so many tidbits and jewels and gems that are scattered throughout the
If
sequence.
anyone is really interested in understanding this beyond just intellectual thoughts and information based, I know I've said lots of things. I can give keywords. You understand?
Sure.
You could just go research about the matriarchy era, which was when the women ruled the world.
Right.
Understand? If you want to really have a huge grasp, and I like having full proofs, you can get into the precession of the equinox, so you understand how the ages actually happened. And how it's there in the Bible, the golden and all the ages, how they came. So the women ruled during the Bronze Age. From understanding that, you will know that what is happening now is because what seems to be happening now is because we're in a patriarchy era. And it wasn't like this when we're in a patriarchy era. And why are we in a patriarchy era? Why are we in a patriarchy era? Then you get into the psychological relationship, because life is relationship. If there's feminist movement, it started from a home. It started from a misunderstood relationship between a man and a woman.
That's right.
That's where it started from. So if we understand our psychological mechanics, if we understand how our psychology works as men, how our psychology works as women, and how we interact with each other, I think it's going to give us a clear picture.
Right.
And then you can dive into the divine feminine, the concept of goddesses. Why don't we talk about goddesses now? Why are religions that have to talk about religions that have to do with goddesses now are regarded as diabolic and evil? Even alchemy is a feminine concept. And it's looked at somehow. So when you research these things on your own, you could understand that the movement is actually against what it wants to achieve.
Yes.
You understand? It's a good movement because they want to achieve something, but when you go deep into it, the movement is counter opposing what it wants to achieve.
It's counterproductive.
It's
and
counterproductive.
It's not necessary because, just like you said earlier on, all the isms that we humans tend to crop up every now and then. It's like trying to narrow the focus on one aspect of ourselves, one aspect of our psyche, and that's not the way nature operates. You know, nature, everything is circular. I always talk about concentric reasoning. You know, I coined that term years back, and why I feel it's so important that we view things from a concentric perspective is because if you take that linear perspective, addressing, you know, we have 360 degrees that make up a circle. And when you drop a stone or a pebble in a body of water, it spreads all around. The concentric circles expand, you know, an equanimous radius and all that. So that's how we should think. We should think from every possible angle, you know, not necessarily just one. Feminism, the whole scope or the the intended goal is just one laser-focused aspect, and them putting so much energy into that is, like you said, misleading the younger generation of women, because then they feel that that's the totality of who they should be, which is wrong. You know, we need a holistic approach, and the key ways to getting that holistic approach is to communicate, like Sister Idena rightly said. You've got to communicate with each other, not just women amongst themselves, but men and women. I mean, it takes two to tango. If women gather amongst themselves and are shouting these mantras about, you know, what the feminist movement is all about, are they going to bring about what they want in isolation? No, we're not islands unto ourselves. So it's got to be a unanimous, you know, coming together of the sexes, of men and women, of every strata of society to really make the positive changes that we desire come into manifestation. And that's the way I see it. And you made a comment that really I found to be important, and that's at the end of the day, the end game is for us to learn to become better humans. Because at our core, we are neither, you know, I mean, the soul is not feminine or masculine. It's actually a combination of both elements, both spheres. So we need to learn to become whole. Balance between our masculine and feminine principles.
You know, because we have been groomed in terms of morality, good and bad, which is actually relative.
Yes.
When we talk about when we talk about words like perfect and holy, we think of morality, we think of ethics and all that. But the truth is that being whole and being holy and being perfect is being complete. It's being a complete being.
Yes.
Because how can you be holy if you're psychologically imbalanced? How can you be holy if your aspects of your life start are not united, are not working together? So it's being whole, and you cannot be whole by thinking, oh, I am a woman. You have actually limited yourself.
That's right.
And if you have limited yourself to that, then it's like you're limited yourself to that, and you're struggling to jump out from what the society agrees what you have limited yourself to is. Because the society says this is what a woman is, and you belong to that society, and you've limited yourself to being a woman because you think you're this, and then you're opposing the principles of being what you've said you are. So if we understand that we are neither male or female, we are expressing out a specific gender because of the body. You don't understand that you're divinity. That's when you won't say women are meant to eat in the kitchen, they are meant to cook, they are meant to do this or they are meant to do that. You say, as a proper functioning human being, as a woman that is not possessed by her animals, the psychological related factor I mentioned earlier, which is primary because the universe is mental. As a proper functioning human being, as a proper functioning male or female, you behave like life. Because that's what we are. We are life.
We are life.
Once you start behaving like life, all these ideas of it's meant to be like that, it's meant to be like this, it goes away.
They go away.
It goes away.
They go
You become who you are. That's what we are. We are whole. We are one. We're already holy, but we don't know.
That's the bottom line. So, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much. Thank you, both of you, for making out the time to join me today and, us rubbing minds together on this very important topic. I believe that a lot of people are going to find this useful. And for those of you who are watching, just want to say thank you for the time that you've shared with us. We really want to hear what you have to say. What are your thoughts? What do you feel about this very important topic that we've addressed today? Obviously, it's not possible, like Brother Azubuike said, to address something that's been on the forefront or the headlines since the 60s. It's not possible to address all of that within 60 minutes. But that being said, I believe that we've tried our best to do justice to it, and would like to know what your contributions are. Let us know in the comments below. And let's keep the discussion going because, like Sister Idenu, Princess Idenu rightly said, communication is key. We've got to rub our minds together. That's how we create solutions. That's how we provide value to each other. So let's keep the discussion going. Share this video with your friends, family, and anyone that you feel would benefit from the content in this video. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, because there's a lot more great content coming up. Thank you. Thank you. One love. This is your host, Prince Obioha, Ezeagu, Ndi-GBO of GBOriginal Creators. And this has been GBOriginal Griot web series. One love to y'all. Thank you. Cheers.
Maybe change you want to see.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. That's a wrap.